I don't even know where to begin for this chapter. This was arguably the darkest chapter of Hunter x Hunter I think I've ever read. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was a darker chapter or episode of Hunter x Hunter that Togashi has ever put out. There is a lot to break down in this chapter. The emotions that this chapter made me feel were unreal. Absolute sympathy that I feel for all of the kids in this fucking chapter is unreal. The chapter opens up with everyone being seriously worried because at the end of the last chapter, Sarasa went running off in hopes of finding a tape for the troupe to then dub over and use again for another showing, and it shows us the troupe getting ready for basically their next dub. We assume it's been about a day basically, so it's like a second screening. The troupe are all worried about what is happening here with Sarasa and how no one's seen her basically since she left last night, and we can see everyone is looking visibly concerned and visibly shook, and there's already people out looking for her while the troupe are getting ready for it and stuff like that. But Chrollo goes out onto the stage and the crowd goes wild cheering for him, saying it's him, it's Chrollo, it's Red, you know, it's the character that he's playing basically in the anime that they're dubbing. Everyone like sort of panics down and stuff like that, but he says that the show is postponed and it's been cancelled, and everyone is gutted. He talks about how, as you know, child abductions have been increasing, and yet despite knowing how dire the situation is, Chrollo let Sarasa go home alone without considering countermeasures, and he takes full responsibility. And he also says, we will now focus on finding Sarasa, and that's why we must postpone today's show. And then, without fail, without almost hesitation, it seems the crowd start cheering that they're going to help Chrollo and the gang find Sarasa and everything like that. And Chrollo tries to insist to put it like that it's dangerous and stuff like that, but Uvagin immediately interjects and starts forming a plan, basically starts setting everyone up into little squads, duos, trios, all that good stuff, and basically go out to look for Sarasa. You see things there saying like, oh, let's all go find Orange, which is the character that she was playing in this show, and you can see how emotional Chrollo is about this, and he starts crying on the stage saying, yeah, you're right. And it's like really weak and it's shaking. You can tell by the way the text is wrote and stuff like that. It's wild. We then get like this sort of like little montage of panels here where Uvagin and Chrollo are sort of searching on the motorbike, and we see Baku, Things, Nobunaga, everyone is out looking for her, and then they find a bag. Maybe she's in the forest kind of thing, and we see Chrollo spot a bag hanging from a tree. And this scene, if you've been following Togashi on Twitter, this scene got a lot of people hyped. As you know, for the past couple of chapters, we have been on a boat, basically. So for everyone to have seen a concept of drawing of trees and stuff like that, everyone was speculating that this was going to be the Dark Continent, and our first showings, basically, of the Dark Continent from, like, a different perspective. Unfortunately, it is not the hype. In fact, it is probably... the implications in the next couple of panels are on the same level of dark that Berserk goes to. In my personal opinion, I think Togashi is really pushing the boat for this one. I genuinely think that this is the darkest chapter of Hunter x Hunter that has ever been written. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I don't think off the top of my head there is another chapter that even comes remotely close to the chapter that I'm looking at and reading right now. Like, but we see Chrollo approaching, and we see Uvagin immediately just go into denial, saying it's not her, someone's got to check. And Chrollo steps up and he's like, I'll do it, I'll look. And Uvagin helps him get the bag down, basically. Chrollo won't even read the note to Uvagin, but he catches this bag and he opens it up and everything, and we see the head of Sarasa with the arms at the back and the feet there. It is heavily implied that this is Sarasa that has just been cut up, basically. She has been brutally murdered, unfortunately. And the next panels that show... it's been a while since I have read a manga, and the artist and the way the panels have been drawn just convey such raw, powerful fucking emotion. It reminds me so much of Gon, when Gon just sort of blacks out a little bit with Pito, and his eyes sink to that really dark level. And we see Chrollo looking inside the bag, and he reads the note that's been nailed basically to Sarasa's head. They basically confirm Sarasa, but Chrollo refuses to say it out loud, and him and Uvagin get into like a bit of a scuffle, and he says, don't mess with me, what did those murderous bastards write? And Chrollo says, I won't say it, I will take those words to my grave. If you really want to know, read it yourself. And we see him and Uvagin just sort of staring each other down. Again, after previous chapters where I talked about, you can see the leadership role starting to form. This is like somewhat conflict here, but you can also see like the indomitable will that Chrollo already has at this such a young age, where he's not even backing down from Uvagin. Uvagin is obviously way bigger than this dude and just manhandles him, but he won't even back down. He refuses to. They all decide to take the bag and take her home and everything like that, and they're basically all saying their final goodbyes to Sarasa here, and they end up crying. And I'm assuming it skips a couple of days here, like maybe a little bit of a time skip, a couple of weeks or something like that, but we see Sarasa as being laid out in a coffin and they're getting ready to bury her and everything like that. They've reconstructed the body here, and we get introduced to this new character called Renko. The priest here explains that it's called embalming. It's a technique used to restore a corpse to its original appearance. Everyone please thank Renko-san for her hard work. Given Sarasa's condition, what she accomplished is nothing short of a miracle. You know, they start like getting ready to bury Sarasa basically here, and they bury the original tape with Sarasa, and we see Machi walking away and speaking to Renko here, and Machi asks if she can learn how to embalm like that, and Renko turns around and says it's impossible, it's not a skill I can teach, it's my special ability. And this is where we get our first confirmation of Machi being able to see aura, so she's already sort of nen aware basically, and we can obviously see that this is where Machi ends up learning her healing skills basically, because again she was like the primary healer for Chrollo. Every time Chrollo was getting like scuffed up, Machi was basically just sewing them back together with her nen ability. We see Machi saying to her, you know, does this have something to do with the glow around your body? And Renko was very surprised that she can see her aura basically, and Renko sort of stares her down and then says, those pretty eyes of yours make my skin crawl. It's a really weird line to say to a kid, but then she says, if you get permission from your nannies, you're welcome to visit, get on the last bus, show them this, and she gives Machi basically like this amulet type, like a ribbon basically. He says, ask for Misty Forest Valley and they'll take you there for free. And we see Machi thinking about it and everything like that, and then we skip over to the gravestone of Sarasa, and we see Chrollo and Uvagin speaking, and Chrollo says, can I ask you to wait 3 years by the time I'm 14? Chrollo says, I'll be able to sort everything out, a proper system for the city as well as my own power. So we're all getting to the point now where we're learning Nen here, and this is how it's coming about. And I think Chrollo already is slightly Nen sensitive, or has small awakenings of Nen, just because of the previous chapter when he uses his voice. There seems to be an aura around him, and everyone is already terrified, you know what I mean? It's like someone was being caught in N basically when he was screaming as he was doing his voice acting. And Uvagin basically refuses this, and he says, I ain't waiting. I'm heading out today to avenge Sarasa. Going now is pointless. Didn't you promise to travel the world with me? And that's what Chrollo was saying to Uvagin here. And he says, waiting 3 years won't change a thing. And they kind of argue, they have this like back and forth, and he says it will. Chrollo then starts to talk about basically the internet here. So this is like pre-internet. This is basically Hunter x Hunter's version of internet that he's talking about here. He's talking about, we're on the cusp of a communications revolution. Once the infrastructure is in place, people around the world will be able to connect at the speed of light, and people's information will be available for all the world to see. It'll be a major shift, and that's basically what Chrollo was talking about here. He's basically telling Uvagin that the internet is only 3 years away. Give me 3 years, let me get my powers ready, and then we're gonna go out and we're gonna find these bastards. We're gonna fuck them up, kind of thing. Chrollo then says that crime scene was orchestrated to convey a message. It was just like our play, cigarette butts we were standing on, probably the spot they filmed it from. Uvagin looks really like sort of shocked that Chrollo has picked up this information, and again, Togashi's like really subtle with how much information Chrollo picks up, and he's really nailing home just how intelligent Chrollo actually is. And he says, if these people heard of a way to showcase their art, quote unquote, to the world, there's no way they could resist. Even in a world of instantaneous communication, there will be borders and regulations, so those guys will look for loopholes. Evil always lurks in the darkness, and in this new environment it will be no different. But we'll create those loopholes. Meteor City will become a safe haven for criminals to pass through. But we have the rest of the troop show up saying, we'll all prepare, we'll go for it, we'll join you on this, basically this little 3-year wait. They say 3 years can go by quickly and we've got a lot to prepare. And this is again, like, it's already dark in this chapter, but this is where it gets dark, because I can't help but think these are just kids. Do you know what I mean? These are small kids. Yeah, like we even see Chrollo saying, by the time I'm 14, he is 11 years age. For an 11-year-old to be considering all this is crazy. Like the implications and like everything that is laid out in this chapter is phenomenal. Togashi has outdone himself time and time again, and I feel like every chapter he's just going up and up and up and it is really phenomenal to read this and see this. We see the chapter starting to close out with Chrollo saying, yes, but we'll also need something more important. In order to ensure that what happened to Sarasa never happens again, we'll need to offer up our lives. And then Chrollo then goes on to say, and I think this is arguably, apart from him finding the body of Sarasa, this is also one of the darkest panels in here, because I think everyone around him understands just how serious this is now. Chrollo just casually says, after these 3 years, I will kill many people. And he says, Sarasa definitely wouldn't want that. So if I ever see Sarasa again someday somewhere, I will beg for forgiveness. However, I will not forgive those killers for as long as I live. Given our current legal system, I can't imagine seeing criminals like that actually repenting for what they did. I'll live the rest of my life as a villain who will make the whole world tremble in fear. Those thugs won't come near Meteor City ever again once I'm done with this place. And then he stretches out his hand and he asks Uvagan to be the leader of the troop here. And Uvagan responds with, nah, you're the leader, Chrollo. And with you as the head, I will follow you until I die. And we see the troop just sort of giving like this hand signal, basically. And I'm assuming that this is like their secret handshake, basically. But we get this time skip. I'm assuming that this is the 3 years that have passed here. We're showing Chrollo going from a young boy to a young adult, basically, here. And we see Chrollo standing in front of the troop. And they're all sort of like pre-teens, I'm assuming, mid-teens. And it says, and thus they were reborn as a spider. And honestly, this chapter was fucking phenomenal. In this chapter has just blown my expectations out of the water for what I thought the Phantom Troupe Origin was going to be. It was naive of me to think that this was going to be a happy-go-lucky little story of Nobunaga just reminiscing the good old days, you know what I mean? But that is obviously not what happened here. I don't know if this is going to continue on into the next chapter or if we're done with this sort of thing now, but holy fuck, what a chapter. Jesus, that is everything from me. I hope you enjoyed this review and this video. Overall, a solid fucking chapter, 10 out of 10 chapter. But if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it really does help me out. And if you haven't already, maybe consider becoming a member because it really does help the channel. It helps me out. And I will catch you guys all in the next video. Much love, big kisses, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.